Shavua Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi Masechet Bava Kamma. We are up to Perek Hey Mishna Gimel. Today's Mishnayot should be Leilu Nishmat Neria ben Svetlana Ranbai Eliyahu ben Burcha Israelov Chana bat Miriam Sason ben Ryan Yoshua ben Shifra Menuchatam beGan Eden Amen and Leavdi ben Chaim lechaim v'derefua shenemav Daniel Shalom ben Rosa betoch Shah Cholei Israel. This Mishnah deals with the third case of damage that results from someone bringing his possessions into another's property. If someone brought his ox into a homeowner's courtyard without permission, and the homeowner's ox gored it, or the homeowner's dog bit it, Patur, the homeowner is not obligated to pay for the damage because the victim did not have permission to bring his ox there. And if the ox that was brought in gored the homeowner's ox, Chayav, the person who brought the ox in is obligated to pay for the damage. Likewise, if the ox that was brought in fell into the homeowner's water pit and made its waters dirty and unfit for drinking, Chayav, the owner of the ox is obligated to pay for the ruined water. Hayav, and if the homeowner's father or son was in the pit and was killed by the following ox. Now the same law applies when any other person was in the pit. The Mishnah chose to speak of his father or son only because that is the usual case. It's common for a homeowner's relatives to be on his property. And in any event, if the homeowner's father or son or any other person that was in the pit and was killed by the following ox, Mishalemet HaKofel, the owner of the ox pays kofel, the ransom that must be paid by someone whose animal killed a person, like was discussed in chapter 4, Mishnah 5. Now this part of the Mishnah must refer to an ox that is a muad, because the owner of a tam is exempt from paying kofar. However, if he brought his ox into the court with permission and it was injured there, the owner of the court is obligated to pay for the damage, because by allowing the ox to be brought into the court, the homeowner presumably agreed to protect it, even if he did not say so explicitly. And in this case, the homeowner would be obligated to pay kofar if the ox was a muad and it killed a person. The next Tana disagrees with the last point. Rabbi Omer, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says, in all of these cases cited in this Mishnah and the previous Mishnah, where one brought things, pots, produce, or an ox into another's property, even if the homeowner gave him permission, the homeowner is not obligated to pay for damages that occur in his property to them unless he explicitly accepts upon himself to protect them. This Mishnah and the last one stated that one who allows another person to bring items into his property automatically commits himself to protect them. According to Rebbe, however, he makes no such commitment unless he clearly says so. Therefore, if the items are damaged, the homeowner is exempt from paying. However, even according to Rebbe, the owner of the items is exempt from paying for any damage that his items cause on the property, since after all, he had permission to place them there. That is in Rabotai of Mishnah Gimel. The Torah in Sefer Shemot, chapter 21, verse 22 states that if someone accidentally struck a pregnant woman and caused her to miscarry, God forbid, he must pay for the loss of the fetus. Mishnah Dad contrasts the law where a person struck a pregnant woman with the law where an animal struck a pregnant woman. Shor shaya mitkaven lechavero, if an ox intended to gore another ox, v'ika et ha'isha v'yatzu yeladeha, and it struck a pregnant woman instead and caused her to miscarry, patur mitmei v'ladot, the owner of the ox is not obligated to pay the value of the fetus. But if a person intended to strike another person, and he struck a pregnant woman instead and caused her to miscarry, mishalem demei viladot, he must pay the value of the fetus. Now the Torah in Shemot chapter 21 verse 22 states that a man who caused the woman to miscarry must pay, which implies that if an animal did so, its owner is not obligated to pay. Now, it makes no difference in actuality whether the ox intended to gore another ox or the woman. In either case, the ox's owner does not have to pay for the fetus. The Mishnah mentions that it intended to gore another ox only because in its next case, where a man struck a pregnant woman, he is required to pay even if he intended to hit another man and struck the woman by accident. So for stylistic reasons, it brought the case of the ox's intent, even though it makes no difference in actuality what the intent of the ox was. In either case, the ox's owner would not have to pay. The Mishnah explains how the value of the fetus is calculated. Ketzad mishalem dmei vladot. How does one pay the value of the fetus? Shaminat ha'isha kama hi yafa ad shelo yalda. The court estimates how much the woman was worth before giving birth had she been sold then as a slave. V'chama hi yafa misheyalda. And how much she would have been worth after giving birth if she would have given birth normally, how much her value would be. The difference is considered the value of the fetus, which the damager must pay. This payment covers only damages related to pregnancy. If she suffered additional injuries to her body, we assess those damages separately in the manner stated in chapter 8, Mishnah 1. The next Tana disagrees. Amar Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel said, Im ken mishaisha yoledet mashbachat. If so, that we calculate the value of the woman before and after the pregnancy, the damager will pay nothing because a woman increases in value after she gives birth. A pregnant woman is worth less as a slave than one who is not pregnant because the danger presented by the approaching childbirth reduces her value. Rather, we estimate how much the fetus was worth just before the attack and the damager pays that amount. The Gemara on page 498 in Bava Kamma explains that Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel disagrees only in the case of a woman who was pregnant for the first time when it is unknown whether she can survive childbirth. Once she has given birth, however, the risk is greatly reduced, and Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel agrees that she is in fact considered more valuable on account of her pregnancy. Now the Mishnah discusses to whom the payment is made. V'notel abal, the damager gives the value of the fetus to the woman's husband, meaning the baby's father. This law is derived from the Torah. V'men lah bal, and if she has no husband, meaning the father died, noten liyorshav, he gives it to the husband's heirs. Hayta shivchat v'nishtachira, if she was a Canaanite slave woman who had been freed and had married a freed Canaanite slave, or gioret, or if she was a convert to Judaism who married a male convert, and in each of these cases her husband died without leaving any heirs, patur, the damager is not obligated to pay the value of the fetus to anyone. Now the Mishnah refers to a convert or freed slave who did not have children after he converted or was freed, therefore he has no legal relatives who can inherit him. The law is that when he dies, his property becomes ownerless hefker, and the first person to seize it acquires it. In the Mishnah's case, therefore, the damager may keep the payment, for since he still has it in his possession, he has already quote-unquote seized it. Now, although the Mishnah says that the woman herself was a convert or a freed Canaanite slave woman, the same law applies to any woman, even one who is Jewish by birth, because it is the husband's status that affects whom the payment is made. The Mishnah mentions only a convert and a freed slave woman only because it was common for people of similar backgrounds to marry each other. And that is the Rabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Everybody should have a Shavua Tov. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.